Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping straight into a highly specific, honestly pretty bold alternative socioeconomic blueprint from P.R. Sarkar. It's called the Prout Framework, and it makes a really fascinating claim that contemporary economics, the system we literally all live under right now, is actually only showing us half the picture.
So, let's kick things off with a pretty massive question raised by the framework itself. What exactly are modern economists completely overlooking in their relentless pursuit of growth and efficiency?
Well, to answer that, the author outlines a comprehensive quadri-dimensional model, and our explainer is going to follow this exact blueprint today. First, a four-part economic vision. Second, the people's economy. Third, Bengal as a practical example. Fourth, introducing the psycho-economy. And finally, commercial and general economies.
Let's start with Part 1, a four-part economic vision.
This slide brilliantly illustrates the core critique, and it's a big one. The framework argues that modern economics is hyper-focused on commerce and general organization, but Prout theory introduces two entirely overlooked dimensions. It says a truly developed economy absolutely must include what it calls a people's economy and a psycho-economy.
Moving right along to Part 2, the people's economy. Let's see how this forms the absolute bedrock of the whole framework.
The people's economy is completely obsessed with one thing: essential needs. We're talking the absolute basics: food, clothing, housing, medical treatment, education, transportation, energy, and irrigation water. The source really hammers home that producing and distributing these specific necessities has to take absolute precedence over literally everything else, because, well, if these aren't met, nothing else really matters, right?
Now, this is where it gets super interesting. The author makes this powerful assertion that meeting basic needs isn't just some hopeful policy goal. It should be a legally enforceable constitutional right. The framework wants to ensure this through guaranteed purchasing capacity. That means citizens would actually have the legal power to demand these minimum requirements if the system fails them. It completely flips the dynamic between the economy and the individual.
So, how do we actually pull off a constitutional guarantee like that? Well, the framework outlines a few massive initiatives. It relies heavily on cooperative industries, which it views as the best way for people to take collective responsibility. It also calls for intense decentralization, block-level planning, and the phase-wise socialization of land. In plain English, land goes directly into the hands of the people who physically or intellectually work it. The whole point is giving people total control over their local resources.
Which brings us to Part 3, Bengal, a practical example.
Because this theory can sound a bit abstract, the text actually gives us a concrete case study using Bengal. And the takeaway here is honestly staggering. According to this framework, Bengal possesses enough local resources, if they're managed properly, to independently feed its entire population of around 70 million people. It completely rejects the idea that a densely populated region has to rely on outside forces just to survive.
Just look at how this maps out. It directly matches human needs to abundant native raw materials. Food, they've got sweet river water for irrigation. Clothing, you don't need to import fabrics when Bengal has mulberry silk plus fibers from bamboo and banana leaves. Housing needs can be totally met with local clay and massive limestone deposits. Even for medicine, the focus shifts to native herbal and mineral remedies. It's like a giant puzzle where all the pieces are already right there.
And it goes way beyond just food and shelter. The text extends this strict local utilization to education and infrastructure too. The mother tongue, Bengali, becomes the primary medium of instruction. And get this, they'd use paper made from local grasses and ink sourced from indigenous indigo. For energy, instead of importing oil, the region taps into its hydro, thermal, tidal, and wind power, while using local rubber, steel, and mica to build out transport. It's a completely closed-loop vision of regional self-reliance.
Okay, Part 4, introducing the psycho-economy.
So let's say those basic subsistence problems are definitively solved by the people's economy. What's next? The blueprint shifts our attention to a highly developed, automated future where people just have a lot more spare time. And this introduces a totally novel concept, the psycho-economy. Instead of defining an economy purely by physical output, this dimension is all about nourishing the collective mind, what the author calls psychic pabula. The text predicts that when automation lets us work just a few hours a week, this psychological and spiritual economy is going to become incredibly important.
To manage this, the author gives us a two-step approach. Step 1, eradicate. This means aggressively fighting dehumanizing economic trends. basically cutting out exploitative practices that create unhealthy artificial demands just to make a quick buck. Step 2, enhance. Actively finding creative solutions that maximize our spiritual and psychic potential. It's essentially an economy designed to make us better, more fulfilled people, rather than just better consumers.
And finally, Part 5, Commercial and General Economies.
This is where Prout redefines the two economic dimensions we're actually somewhat familiar with today. The commercial economy, that's all about the scientific pursuit of hyper-efficient, loss-free production, making sure output always exceeds input so absolutely nothing is wasted. The general economy, on the other hand, is like the overarching brain. It coordinates planning at all levels to make sure the efficiency of the commercial economy actually results in collective welfare, not just isolated wealth.
Under that general economy umbrella, the author pushes for a very specific three-tiered industrial setup, designed specifically to block monopolies. Tier 1. Key foundational industries managed by the government strictly on a no-profit, no-loss basis. Tier 2. Cooperative industries, which would form the bulk of the economy. And Tier 3? It does allow for private enterprise, but here's the catch. They are legally limited in size. If a private business grows too large, boom, it's required to convert into a cooperative.
This quote really brings the whole thing together. You've got the people's economy for survival, the psycho-economy for mental and spiritual growth, the commercial economy for efficiency, and the general economy for coordination. But the glue holding it all together? Neo-humanistic principles. It's a philosophy aimed at harmonizing human progress with all of creation, making sure the economy actually serves humanity instead of humanity just serving the economy.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really chew on. If we completely shifted our global focus away from mere financial accumulation and instead focused on guaranteed basic rights, local self-reliance, and mental fulfillment, how would we measure the true success of a modern society? It's a profound question raised by the Prout framework, and it definitely challenges the very foundation of our future. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive, and as always, keep questioning the systems around you.